Hey guys, Joey here, and if you're familiar with my productions, then you'll know that I love snare bombs. If you want these kinds of post-production effects in your song, stick around, because I'm going to be going over how to make your own snare bomb and how you should use it in a mix. Start with finding the snare hits that you want to emphasize. A good tip is to look for slower parts where the snare can really breathe. Create a new track for your snare bomb and drag it over the hits that you want. Load up a reverb on this track, and you can use any reverb, just make sure that it has a room mode. Let's start with the mix on 100%, and then we'll adjust the room size until the reverb length is right. That's the perfect length. I want the snare to fill up all of this space, but not much more. The low pass is going to control how bright our reverb is. I want presence, but not so much that it's just static. That reverb tail's sounding great. Depending on the part, we can keep the snare 100% wet or bring some of the dry signal back in. Since I'm reinforcing all the snares in this part, I'm going to cut the dry signal completely. Compression is what takes this from a snare room to a snare bomb. Put any compressor after the reverb. We're going to go super aggressive with these settings. I want a fast attack and a fast release and a maxed out ratio. And you're also going to want a pretty low threshold on here too. Awesome. Now we've got our reverb and compression dialed in. We can add one more reverb to get a more cavernous sound on our snare bomb. I'm looking for a little bit of a different texture on this reverb, so let's try out some different modes on JST Skybox. The spring mode runs parallel with our signal, so we can keep the mix on 100%. In other reverbs, you're probably going to want to keep the mix a little bit lower. This is to emphasize the effect and not replace it. Mess with the decay and the tone until you get something that helps add size, but doesn't become totally distracting. Balance the snare bomb with your original snare, and then you're done. Now, remember how I said with the reverb mix, it depends on the part? Just before this breakdown hits, there's a snare that would work great as an accent bomb. This is going to jump out of the mix a little more than our regular snare bombs. I'm going to duplicate this track and just select this snare. To get this to really hit, go into the first reverb plugin and increase the dry amount. Just increase the volume and you're done. This hit now has way more impact, and that's going to make this breakdown hit even harder. So now that we've got a snare bomb, where do we go from here? There's a lot of cool things that you can do with it in the mix. I'll show you a few of my favorites. The first trick I'm going to cover is the reverse snare bomb. Check out this gap before this breakdown. These types of gaps are perfect for the reverse bomb. The process is actually pretty simple. We're going to do the exact same process, but on the clip instead of the track. Commit this FX chain to the clip and then reverse it. Line up the transient of the reverse snare with the start of the breakdown. If the effect's too strong, make sure to fade it in. To help add some texture, we can put a flanger on the track to make this effect more memorable. We want to set the speed to something moderate so that the movement is audible but not too distracting. Now let's check out how much this transition has improved. You're going to want to use this next technique if you've got a really dense mix. This chorus has a lot of different ambient guitar layers that are going to compete with our snare effect. To make this cut through, I'm going to add some distortion. Clipping the signal a bit is going to give it a bit more presence in the mix. We can reduce this track's volume and still totally hear it in the song. Cool, the effect is now more noticeable, but it's not crushing our mix. This last trick is a cool one, and you can approach it in a lot of different ways. Adding a tonal sample under your snare bomb can make it more unique and give it depth. Check out this section here. You can already hear how much life this snare bomb is bringing, but we can drive that home with some post-production. Let's try an ambience sample. The goal of this effect is to fill all of the space. Cut a piece of the ambience you like and align it with the snare. Match the length of your sample to the tail of your snare bomb. This will make it sound more cohesive. And make sure to add a fade out that mirrors your snare tail. Mess around with the clip and fade length until the ambience and the snare both feel like one element. Now it's time to add some texture. Saturating your ambience is a great way to enhance the sound without affecting your snare bomb. Let's try a bit crusher. That sounds awesome. Let's go over what we changed one more time. And that's it. Snare bombs are one of my favorite ways to make a part stand out, both as a tone and as an effect. Just make sure you keep the whole song in mind so that you don't overload your mix. Which one of these examples was your favorite? Do you like the standard snare bomb or something crazy like the tonal layers? Let me know in the comments below. If you want more stuff like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified each time we upload a new video. That's all for this one. Until next time, happy mixing.